The Celestial Toymaker will be appearing in the 60th anniversary specials in November this year, and much like Beep the Meep, many of you may be under the impression that he's new. Well, he isn't. All info in this video is from the TARDIS Wiki linked in the description. The Toymaker, also known as the Celestial Toymaker, the Crystal Guardian and the Mandarin, was a powerful being who ensnared sentient beings in seemingly childish games with their freedom as the stakes. However, the Toymaker hated to lose and the games were always rigged in his favour. The word Celestial is not often used in this context anymore, but Celestial was used in reference to Chinese people in the same way the word Redskin was used to refer to a Native American. That's relevant here because the Toymaker's outfit was inspired by traditional Chinese outfits. One could argue that the word wasn't being used in a racist context and just refers to the Toymaker being from another world. However, this is the same serial in which one of the characters says the N-word. Just over 11 minutes into episode 2, the King of Hearts is choosing a chair at random using Eeny Meeny Miny Mo, but instead of catch a tiger by its toe, it's... The Celestial Toymaker was the 7th serial of Season 3 of Doctor Who. It aired from the 2nd to the 23rd of April 1966. It introduced the Toymaker, a recurring villain in the franchise. Most notably, the serial almost broke William Hartnell out of the series. Producer John Wells' original idea for dispensing with Hartnell's services was to have the Doctor disappear as Hartnell during the Trilogic game, then reappear as another actor. That's right, this random Series 3 story that most of the fandom dislikes could have had the first recasting, and it wouldn't have even had an in-universe explanation. Can you imagine Doctor Who randomly recasting the Doctor without a regeneration episode? The larger truth, however, was that it was a serial that had, unlike most others, been shaped by two different production teams. Along the way, it had generated unusual criticism from rights holders of other properties, including Wiles's own boss, who were concerned that their characters were being unhelpfully, if not illegally, used within the production. The final test was the only Doctor Who episode forced to have a continuity announcement to protect the BBC from legal action on behalf of a copyright holder. The Celestial Toymaker saw Inez Lloyd officially take over as the producer, which led to far less formal clothing for his female cast. For the first time, the female companion wears a miniskirt. The serial also suffered due to a hangover from the arcs that posted over budget, resulting in a minimalist set design and reuse of costumes from Marco Polo. The final test currently remains the only recovered episode of this serial. The novelization of the Celestial Toymaker was published by Target Books on the 20th of November 1986. Novelizations often add a few new things that weren't in the original episodes. For example, the first Doctor believed the Toymaker to be native to the same universe as himself, and as having only lasted for thousands of years by the time of their first encounter. He told Stephen Taylor and Toto Chaplet that this Toymaker was immortal like all Toymakers, explaining that the urge to create toys that are ultimately destructive was unfortunately part of their universe, such that the world was full of destructive Toymakers like him. Some accounts claim that the Toymaker was the crystal-coloured Guardians of Dreams, counterbalancing the other 5 Guardians of Time, the most powerful Great Old Ones who had survived from an older universe in which they had been the equivalent of Time Lords. One of these accounts is Divided Loyalties, which was published by BBC Books on the 4th of October 1999. Many years ago, the Doctor, a student at the Academy on Gallifrey, lost a friend to the mysterious and malevolent force known as the Celestial Toymaker. Now in his 5th incarnation, the Doctor receives a telepathic call from his long-lost classmate begging for help. As he sets out to rescue his friend and exact revenge, the Doctor's companions become increasingly involved. Adric, determined to justify his place aboard the TARDIS, opts to face the Toymaker's game challenges, while Nyssa, angered by the Doctor's actions, finds herself excluded by the people who she thought were her friends. And what is the connection between the Toymaker and the planet Dimok, whose comatose inhabitants find a new saviour in the shape of Teak and Jovanka? Another account of the Toymaker being a Guardian of Time is The Quantum Archangel, published by BBC Books on the 8th of January 2001. The Toymaker isn't actually in this book, he's only mentioned. The Nightmare Fair is a Big Finish audiobook released on the 12th of November 2009. The TARDIS has been drawn to Blackpool in the year 1986, where the Doctor intends to investigate a dangerous space-time vortex, while enjoying some local attractions along the way. But in all enemy is watching from his base deep within the amusement park, a timeless being who craves revenge. The Celestial Toymaker has returned, the game is on, and should he lose, the Doctor will pay the ultimate forfeit. Indeed, according to the Sixth Doctor, he originated in another universe before this one and was hauled into the Doctor's universe by some kind of catastrophe. Because of this, the usual laws of physics didn't apply to him. The Toymaker himself stated that while he had used his powers for other things in the beginnings of the universe, he eventually got bored of thousands of millennia of pointless creation and pointless destruction, and found a new source of amusement: games. As originally filmed, TV's Revelation of the Daleks, the final story of Season 22, ended with the Doctor telling Perry, "Alright, I'll take you to Blackpool."
As a matter of interest, where is Perry?
This reference was removed before broadcast, being replaced with a freeze frame before the Doctor could name the intended destination, as the BBC had decided to take the series off the air for 18 months.
Alright. I'll take you to...
Reference to Blackpool would have originally led into The Nightmare Fair had it been produced. Michael Gough would have reprised his role as the Toymaker. The Whoniverse book, released on the 25th of October 2016, was a book that described human history in the Doctor Who universe from the point of view of an in-universe publication. This book says that along with his fellow Guardians of Time, the Crystal Guardian or Toymaker was in attendance for the creation of the universe. Other sources give similar accounts, specifically Magic Mousetrap by Big Finish, released in April 2009. The Magic Mousetrap was the 120th story in Big Finish's monthly range. Originally, this story was meant to feature Agatha Christie during the time of her disappearance in December 1926. These elements were written out due to the Unicorn and the Wasp providing an alternative take on the same historical events. In this, the Seventh Doctor described the Toymaker as an elder god originating from the old times at the beginning of the universe. Another account, Mr. Saladamir, an e-book from the 1st of June 2021, described an elder being from the original Palimpsest universe who went mad when it was temporarily overwritten and started dressing like a mandarin playing games. Whatever he really was, the celestial Toymaker had a sister named Hecuba, who was known as the Queen of Time. Hecuba was in the Big Finish audiobook The Queen of Time, which came out on the 29th of October 2013. The Queen of Time was the second story in the fourth series of the Lost Stories produced by Big Finish Productions. According to the First Doctor, the Toymaker succeeded in creating a universe of his own entirely in his own vision, where he would manipulate people and turn them into his playthings. The Toymaker and his games became notorious throughout the universe as he spread his influence to attract people into his world and try to make them part of it. He says this in the aforementioned novelization of the Celestial Toymaker serial. The Toymaker frequently challenged humans from across history, as mentioned in the comic The Greatest Gamble, which was published by Marvel Comics in Doctor Who magazine 56 on the 13th of August 1981. Christmas on a Rational Planet is the 52nd book in the Virgin New Adventures series. In this book, Hsenling was a human who was once abducted by the Toymaker, whom he likened to a No-Cha. No-Cha was a Chinese trickster god. Hsenling told stories of his own abduction by the trickster god No-Cha, who he beat in an unearthly game of cards. Rowlon, whose full first name is Rowlon Washatellaror, was one of the Doctor's classmates at the Academy. Millennia was the second female member of the Decca and the lover of Rowlon. They attended Prydonian Academy at the same time as the youthful First Doctor. According to the Divided Loyalties book, the Doctor learned of the Toymaker when he was a youth at the Prydonian Academy. The Time Lord's databanks described him as only a vague legend. Some of the reports of the Time Lord's databanks claim there may exist several Toymakers rather than just one. The Doctor and his friends Rowlon and Millennia, who like the Doctor belonged to a clique known as the Decca, investigated the legend, travelling to the toy room in a stolen TARDIS. There they were able to confirm that the Toymaker was a singular being rather than a species. They found him in a dormant, disembodied state, but on their arrival he possessed Rowlon and made Millennia one of his living toys. The Doctor defeated him with the help of the Dime Over, and the Toymaker allowed him to leave, knowing that he would become an even more worthy opponent given time to mature. In the original serial, the Toymaker drew the Doctor's TARDIS back to his realm and made the Doctor and his companions Stephen Taylor and Dodo Chaplet play his games again. This time, the Toymaker arranged things so that even if they won, the toy room would vanish completely at their moment of victory, leaving him the only survivor and the Doctor and his companions his subjects forever. The Doctor outwitted the Toymaker again and escaped, leaving his realm in chaos. In Divided Loyalties, Rowlon had been keeping Toymaker's powers in check since he was first possessed. He made the Toymaker abide by the rules of his games to allow the Doctor to escape. At the end of the serial, the Doctor believed incorrectly that since he had won, the toy room no longer existed. The Toymaker would later state that he had been banished to the ether for millennia after his defeat. He said this in the comic Endgame Part 3, which was printed in Doctor Who magazine 246 on the 18th of December 1996. Relative Dimensions was published by Titan Comics on the 9th of December 2015. In this, the 12th Doctor claims that the Toymaker was created during the Chaos before time, making him one of many of the Doctor's enemies who somehow existed before time did. When the toy room became old and began to break down, the Toymaker feared that its contents would break out into the universe. He trapped the 12th Doctor and Clara Oswald inside, wanting to steal the Doctor's TARDIS to keep the toy room contained. The Doctor allowed him to take the TARDIS, then made his way into the console room and ejected the toy room. The Toymaker was then left with the contained toy room once more, a lonely god drifting through time and space in his magical toy box. The Toymaker discovered that after centuries of existence, Ron's body was dying. He set out to ensnare the Doctor again and hatched a complex plot to turn his companions against him and absorb the Doctor as a new host. He was thwarted when Ron forced himself to undergo multiple regenerations consecutively. The trauma expelled the Toymaker from his body. A projection of Ron's potential future self merged with the Toymaker to ensure that the full powers of the Immortal continued to be kept under control. While waiting for his toy room to repair itself, the Toymaker decided to take his servant Stefan to Earth to seek amusement. After seeing the idea in Tegan Javanka's mind, he decided to take him to Blackpool. The Toymaker, now calling himself the Mandarin, appeared in Blackpool using a thrill ride, Space Mountain, as his base of operations, and manufactured deadly video arcade games. He was stopped by the 6th Doctor and placed in an impenetrable force field. Because the Mandarin's mental energy maintained the force field, the Doctor had set it up so that he could never escape it. Games was a brief encounter short story published in the Doctor Who magazine 192 on the 1st of October 1992. It featured the Toymaker, referred to as the Mandarin, and Fenric, referred to as the Entity, playing 4-dimensional chess. The Mandarin found himself on the verge of being outplayed, but slowly realised that in this case, playing for a stalemate would be a victory of sorts. According to Endgame, the Toymaker hadn't encountered the Doctor in the millennia since his banishment to the Ether. After the Doctor bested him in a game, this banishment gave him the opportunity to search for a way to defeat the Doctor, finding that the Imagineum would be able to create a version of the Doctor under his bidding that was more powerful than the original. As the Imagineum had been in a spacecraft that crashed to Earth and looted by the Knights Templar, the Toymaker played and won a game of canasta with Marwood, a descendant of the Knights Templar living in the 1990s, placing him under the Toymaker's bidding and the Imagineum in his possession. The 8th Doctor arrived in the mirror version of Stockbridge and encountered Maxwell, Edison and Izzy S, who had been entrusted with the Focus, a component of the Imagineum, by Felix, Marwood's former adjutant. Marwood and his fox huntsman hunted Izzy and Max down to retrieve it, and as the trio attempted to flee to the TARDIS, the Toymaker confronted them. While the Doctor and Izzy were able to escape from his clutches, Max was captured. Entering the TARDIS, they planned their rescue of Max and returned to the real Stockbridge, only to find that the Toymaker had encased it in a macro-dimensional linkage device, which resembled a snow globe, and thus were left with no other choice but to enter the celestial toy room and face the Toymaker. Inside, they were soon captured by Marwood and the Toymaker's dolls, and forced to play games of snakes and ladders and hangman before the Toymaker unveiled his possession of the Imagineum. The Toymaker placed Izzy and Max in a game of Mousetrap, and created his duplicate of the Doctor, placing them in a game of gladiatorial chess. Despite his duplicate being physically superior to the Doctor, he was able to convince his duplicate, who sought freedom, not to fight, by explaining that he was merely just another one of the Toymaker's playthings. After seeing the Toymaker murder Marwood after growing bored of him, the duplicate of the Doctor was left with no doubt that he too would eventually befall the same fate. So he turned on the Toymaker, going to kill him, but the 8th Doctor instead used the Imagineum to create a duplicate of him, sending the Toymaker and his duplicate to compete in a perpetual stalemate in the dark places where the Toymaker originated. Solitaire was the 12th and final story of the 4th series in the Companion Chronicles produced by Big Finish Productions, released in June 2010. The Toymaker later captured the Doctor's TARDIS and took it to his toy shop. He transformed the 8th Doctor into a puppet. The Doctor's companion Charlie was forced by the Toymaker to take part in his riddle, but was tricked by the toy shop, which shrunk to 0% of its original size, and the body he was using was destroyed within it. The Toymaker swore that when his new body had formed, he would take his revenge upon the Doctor and Charlie, who had escaped the toy shop's destruction. Stirred up by Fenric as part of a game among the Elder Gods in the audio Gods and Monsters and Black and White, the Toymaker somehow regained full control of his powers and lured several people into his domain, including the Seventh Doctor and his companions Ace and Hex. Working under the Doctor's leadership, the group of victims were successful in defeating the Toymaker and imprisoning his essence in a doll. Or so it seemed. Each of them ate a piece of the doll, dividing the Toymaker so that he would no longer be capable of using his powers. The Doctor concocted an elaborate plan to keep control over the fragments of the Toymaker in the minds of each member of the group, until the Toymaker withered away forever. As this plan involved the Doctor forgetting having made the plan in the first place, he wound up short-circuiting it. In the end, it was revealed that the Toymaker had been in control all along, allowing himself to be absorbed into humanity so that he could feel what it was like to lose. Finally, one of the people involved, as the chess master Swapnil Khan, managed to trap the Toymaker in a perpetual stalemate in his own dimension. But not before the Toymaker had reduced everyone except the Doctor, Ace, Hex and Khan's daughter Queenie Classic to wooden dolls. Double Danger was the third game and 20th release exclusively published in the Doctor Who Official Annual 2024 on the 7th of September 2023 by Penguin Group. The game, a Spot the Difference puzzle, had an in-universe framing of the 14th Doctor asking you to figure out what changed between two realities. The 2024 Annual mainly focuses on the 14th Doctor, played by returning actor David Tennant, and his new sonic screwdriver, wielded by this Doctor in the 60th anniversary specials, but it also offers focus on the next in line, 15th Doctor, played by Ncuti Gatwa. Well, that's all for this video. Let me know in the comments if I've missed anything or got anything wrong, but please do it politely, and I will see you next time whenever that may be.